Very good morning, happy Wednesday. It is Wes McDonald here, and our good friend Kenneth Edmonds is on another trip today. And unfortunately, my guest also seems absent today, but we'll give it a little time and see if they do make it in. And as always, one of the things that Ken loves to know, and I love to know too, is where you're watching from. So I am in Ontario, Canada, right on Lake Erie, just across the border from Buffalo. I'm what you call a border rat, so we are very much Buffalo Bills fans in this household. So as you tune in today, I'll ask again later, but let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to know. Also, you can leave your comments and questions. We answer them live on the program. We are broadcasting both on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So wherever we see those questions, whether live or after the actual live stream, we will make sure to get to those. And one of the things maybe I'll get started on this week, one of my favorite topics, as you know, is AI. And recently in the news, I saw a rumor that Elon Musk looks like he purchased 10,000 GPUs, or graphic processing units. And for anyone that's been following sort of how a lot of these natural language engines work, they rely heavily on GPU. And the rumor is that Elon Musk, who actually wrote a letter recently asking everyone to slow down on AI in the first place, to be buying those GPUs, and has announced that he will be doing something, a more truthful version of ChatGPT. So what that looks like is anybody's question. If you've got more information on that, let me know. But I do kind of funny that the letter, he did ask them to slow down on development, especially with 5.0. There were rumors that ChatGPT 5 was being worked on actively right now, and that is not the case. The organization actually came out and said quite clearly that they're not working on version 5 right now. Now, that being said, if anyone has memories on how these things work, we didn't just jump from ChatGPT 3 to ChatGPT 4. We jumped from 3 to 3.5. So he didn't say that they weren't working on a 4.5, simply that they weren't working on the 5.0 version. So really, it's kind of a nothing burger as far as that statement goes. What I did find interesting is Sam Altman basically said in an interview, I can't remember where it sourced it, but I'll try and look it up and leave it in the show notes afterwards, that there are other concerns, obviously, with safety in the existing application and some of the things that they're doing, as far as the integrations. I do know that they are working on making sure that they can work natively inside ChatGPT with organizations like Expedia for travel, with Canoe, and with others to be able to allow you, and probably some kind of live web integration, much like Microsoft is doing, to be able to allow you to do more things than just get text back from those responses. And that's probably where that's coming from. With regards to that letter, though, certainly I do not see it slowing down at all. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, once we hit that progress button, once the cow is out of the stall, out of the barn, we continue to move on. So I've been using it myself, obviously, pretty extensively since it released, using the paid version of ChatGPT now for all sorts of things. So if you want to learn more about that, you can actually join us on the AI Explorers group on LinkedIn. I can put that link in a little bit later for everyone if you want to see that, and certainly you can check it out there. Another news right now, I just want to wish everyone well. At the Sharp event, I did see a lot of posts on LinkedIn for folks that are there, and man, that opening ceremony looked absolutely bonkers. Really nice to see all those people together again. Looks like they pulled out all the stops, to be able to make that show something special. And Brent Hoskins, did see your post showcasing kind of the grounds and stuff there. Really look forward to catching up with you. And Mark Hart, Eric Crump, I'm pretty sure you're both there as well. And some of the other folks that work in the Office Equipment channel, looking forward to what your field notes are there. So we are 4 minutes into the show, and it doesn't look like our guest is going to be able to make it today, which is too bad, because we were going to be talking about organizational behavior, organizational structure, and how that has to change in the future. And the guest that we have is actually very well established. Henry Mintzberg, hopefully we'll get him on again. He's written over 21 books. The book that we were going to cover today, there was actually a couple of them. Bedtime Stories for Managers, which is fun. And his best-selling, Understanding Organizations, Finally. And this is a book that talks about organizational structure in 2003. The book was originally written in 1979, and this is the updated, version of it, right? And if you are looking at organizational structure for the future, the importance of something that he terms communityship, what the relevance of work charts is in this day and age, etc. Certainly, that is something that you'd want to check out from him in his books. So I'll just give you a quick picture of what those look like right now. So you can check out the Bedtime Stories for Managers, Managing the Myths of Healthcare and Rebalancing Society. And on it goes. Simply Managing, Insider's Strange World of Organizations, Tracking Secrets. Well, the Flying Circus, there's one I got to get. That's Monty Python. I'm a big fan, so shut up for that one. Strategy Bites Back, Managers, Not MBAs. The Strategy Process, Managing Publicity, Strategy Safari. The Canadian Condition, yes, Henry Mintzberg is actually located in Montreal, I think, so a fellow Canadian. The Rise and Fall of Strategic Planning, Management, Managing, Designing Effective Organizations, Power in and around organizations, the structure of organizations, the nature of managerial work, and on it goes. So one of the most prolific writers that I've seen on organizational structure. And you can actually check him out on LinkedIn as well. So if you go to linkedin.com/in Henry Mintzberg, you'll be able to find his details there. And like I said, hopefully we'll be able to get him back on for another program. So I got a feeling today is going to be a short show, folks. It's the first time I actually had a guest not show up. And these things do happen in the world of live streams. So before I go, if anyone does have any questions or comments or things that they want to talk about, I'll give you a couple moments for that. And since I've got your attention and we're here, then maybe I'll share something that I'm quite happy about for an interview that I actually did with Dr. Cindy. You'll remember Dr. Cindy, I think, good grief, I'm not sure if it was over a month ago that we had her on. But she is one of the most phenomenal interviews that I've had the opportunity to actually do. So you can actually check that out. I'm just going to pull it up on Tiger Paw's website. There you go. Now you know. Sell Yourself, and I actually do have a copy of the book, which I'm going through right now, which is absolutely a phenomenal read on personal branding and just how important that is in the modern sales world that we live in. So I will put the link in to the little thing here. Let me try and create this on the fly because that's what I do. There you go. You can actually head over to tigerpaw.com, sales-mastery-for-it-professionals, and you can access the blog. You can consume that any way you want. But like I said, this was one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done to date, so make sure you do jump over there and check it out on that page. All right. So that's it, folks. I'm going to call it. It is now just about 9 minutes into the show. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Sorry that we didn't have the guest today, but you know what? We do show up. We do deliver. And here we go, Mr. Greg Walters. How are you, buddy? Good to see you. And hello. And hey, I wonder if I'd have a little fun here. I wonder if I sent Greg the link, if he would join me in for a little banter. He said, bummer. That's all right. Let's see if Greg Walters will join me for a little banter. So if anyone has any countdown music, I'm going to send Greg the link right now. And Greg, as you're watching and you're on LinkedIn, I just messaged you the link. So if you want to jump in quickly, we can have a quick little chat before I jump out of here. And I know you're watching, so I know that means you may be able to jump in and actually do this. Greg is one of those people. I was talking about AI earlier on. He, like myself, is somebody that has gone in wholeheartedly on discovering and learning and educating himself on what the capabilities are of the different tool sets. It has been absolutely a game changer. And I can remember actually speaking with people early on And some of the folks watching this are going to be the people that I spoke to that said this is a nothing burger, right? It's going to be the next Web3. It's doesn't have a soul. It's not going to be able to help us doing things. It's more of a, just I don't know, a novelty, if you will, for, being able to do party tricks, right? But with all of the integrations and things that have been happening with all of the investment coming from organizations, even Microsoft itself with 10 billion, and you've seen the stuff that they've done. I don't know if anyone's played around yet, but they've actually, it's not just integrated into Bing, and I'll probably bring that up and show you to have a look at how that works. Let's see if I can get to my chat section without showing you my other goodies. I'm planning a trip to Denver for the BTA National event, actually to speak on AI. And I'm just gonna pop this open now. Trust me, I'm gonna do it any second. Coming to a live stream near you. All right. I want to show you something cool. All right, here we go. Let's make it bigger. So we're on the Bing page now, and for a lot of folks, you might have already started playing around with this. But if you look up at the top, you will see just a tiny, tiny little letter for chat. And when you click chat, it actually does bring up the chat functionality. And this is something that I've been actually using in my creative process pretty extensively. And what I primarily use it for is actually sourcing references. I'm still doing most of my outline work and any other sort of creative inspiration using ChatGPT. And I head over to Bing when I need to actually source out some references or links to, valid sources, right? What is going on, Greg?
Hey.
Look at you joining the show impromptu.
Yes. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. This is the first time I've had a guest not show up, and I'm really glad that you came. I actually started sort of ranting and raving about sort of AI and what's happening right now. You've obviously been reading the news as well, where Elon Musk first helped pen the letter telling everyone to slow the F down on development, only to then be rumored to have bought 10,000 GPUs, and now, saying that he's going to be coming up with something that's going to be a more truth-focused, version of the same thing, right? So people just make me absolutely laugh my head off, right? It's funny. It's like everyone else slow down, but I'm going to put on the gas, right? I'm going to catch up. And the second one, I don't know if you saw OpenAI's response to the letter. There was an interview that their CEO had done, and he basically said to everyone, "Don't worry, we're not working on ChatGPT 5.0, right?" And which I found kind of funny because if you remember, we went from 3 to 3.5 and then to 4, right? So he didn't say they weren't working on 4.5. He just said we're not working on ChatGPT 5. So
right. Well, I'll tell you what was interesting. I just watched because he was on with Tucker last couple nights. Elon.
Oh yes, yeah.
And it's chock full of some pretty good content. That I've been starting to follow him pretty. I don't know why he seems to be popping up. And he's still, he's able to bring complex issues right down to the gut, which is probably, one of his best talents, I guess, as a genius, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's, it was interesting to learn the backstory between OpenAI and him and the creators and how they had their little fallout, and then he just walked away from it because he didn't like the direct, where they wanted to go was, I don't know how he put it, but silicone centric versus, or digital centric versus the species, right? They could, I think the dude called Elon a speciesist, whichever, pro species, and his response was, yeah, okay, you got me there. I am, it's like, yeah, and my recent rants have been on AI anarchy, right? I say no guidelines, no guardrails. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because the people who want to put guidelines on and guardrails are the ones who want to put their guidelines on and their guardrails and their narrative. I mean, the worst thing I think that can happen is that Google's AI is successful. And even a little bit with Microsoft and OpenAI. OpenAI now and ChatGPT opens up everyone's eyes and goes, now we know, ooh, this is pretty cool. We're still in that stage, right? Same as it was with when the interwebs first came out. Everything's possible until people, people start to get the motivations to put, attach money to it. So I think that the Microsoft version and the Google version of AI have the greatest potential to be tainted, right? So that's why I'm really anti anyone right now who existed before November and wants to regulate is regulating from the 1950s.
Oh yeah,
and
sure.
I don't. That's it's not going to work. And B, if it did, it'd be terrible.
Yeah,
so
unfortunately, Greg, what the problem is? Like, we are still as a species with our lizard brain, right?
Yeah,
we're still tribalists, right? So we try and contain things in a way that says, okay, do you feel the way I feel? Oh, great. Okay, let's get together and hang out and have a beer, right? And if you don't, then you're demonized or you're the other, right? This is such a problem with our species as scientists, right? Is that we're very cliquey, right? And so when it comes to government, when you think, look, in the Western world, right, you've got a democracy in the U.S., which is slightly different than it is in Canada, but pretty close, right?
Mm-hmm.
England has its own version of it. Then China has their version of communism. Russia has their version of whatever the hell they're doing there, right? And just everything that we do, we have to have some kind of, this is my tribe, right? And I don't see something like AI, like generative AI, being any different. People are going to try and figure out how to make it fit their tribe, right?
Yeah, and I think what I've always believed this is we'll start seeing our own version of AI. There'll be West's AI and Greg's AI, but you're right. That will then build a collection of tribes that are similar AI thingamajiggers or whatever, and then it'll go on from there.
Well, China just announced it. Did you see that? The government was announcing that the version that they're working on, they obviously want to reflect their values, right?
Right.
So you want to talk about some, restrictions. That's going to be.
It's going to be that. Yeah, I mean, it's bigger than the internet in terms of seeping in and getting people to think. Yeah, what's interesting to me is like we're and the Western world, just to blanket it, is we're kind of on the cutting edge. The rest of the world doesn't think like us. That's big difference. Everyone wants to think we're all the same, but we're not. So everything we see, even in the United States, there's a varied degree of I don't know what to call it, not enlightenment or observation of. There's still people that don't know what ChatGPT is.
It's true.
Or what AI is. Yeah. And I think that we're on the bleeding edge of that right now. But people in South Africa, Senegal, they're not at that level. And then you start throwing in different cultural and societal things.
Well, look at it already. Italy's banned it, right? Until certain metrics are met, GDPR, right? And that's a Western culture. Like, you want to talk about the problems we face, it's like even within what we would classify, like you said, in that general umbrella, that there are those variances of opinions, right?
If you study it up to and around World War I and II, and it's amazing to me how this whole thing magnifies how much hasn't really changed. I mean, the war in Ukraine aside, all that other stuff, but the differences down to the countries, down to the societies, to the history, it's all still the same. I mean, America's still the young gun out in the world. We've only been around 250 some years or whatever. The rest of the world's been around for 1,000. But on the other side, we're the ones who have pretty much, whatever, the Western, this isn't a bloviation or anything like that, but, the Western civilization, the expansion West, which drove the world to where it is today. And
you're still doing it, right?
They're still doing it, yeah, and but good and bad. So, yeah, Elon says that we got to be careful, and I can understand that, but I also understand his motivation. And honestly, out of all the people, I'd rather have him doing that right now. It could change. But from all the things I've heard him say, at least in the last 3 to 6 months, the whole Twitter thing. What did he do? He said he bought it at $40 billion, and now it's worth 20. Because it's probably one of the worst business decisions ever, but oh well. Here we go. The way he laid off, he's laid off 80% of the employees, period. So there's only 20% left. And it has always been stuck in my craw. It's like, how do these companies, why do they need 100,000 employees to write software? I think you and I even talked about it. It's like, once you've written it, what do? You can do it with 12 guys and just update it.
Well, and it's going to be a lot fewer, right? So,
oh yeah,
this is like, Wes, and I think you would agree with me, Greg, but, Wes is throwing this out there that for those that are studying computer science, for the next leg of their career, you might want to look at another field, right? Because I think what's going to happen is the machine's going to do most of the writing, and there will be humans to kind of manage that. We're going to need some pretty high level, very focused developers, almost like the Marines, if you will, in the Army, right? Where they're very specialized to be able to work with the machine to do the coding. But for all this general level, stuff that we do day to day to write code, that's not going to be people. Like all those junior jobs, think about that. Like when you're a junior programmer or developer, you get all that grunt work, right? Well, guess what?
Right.
ChatGPT and other engines are going to do that grunt work, all of it.
Right.
Like, and that's, I'm not saying that's 10 years from now. I'm like, that's probably 3 years from now. So by the time you finish a computer science degree and get into the world, right? So I really look forward to some of the comments that come back on this one, but I really believe that, right? That's one of those white collar jobs which has just been eradicated, right?
I don't know if there's 3 years left. I mean, I've seen stuff already. They're writing in Lisp. They're writing in, it writes in different languages, whatever one you want. And we're at the tip, right? We're just beginning. So yeah, you're right. The grunt work goes. I think the whole programming issue goes away because we just ask for what we want, and it happens. It's going to be that simple. But I agree with the higher end stuff. You're going to have to, it's going to be more visionary it's going to be more strategic, more visionary than tactical and daily grind kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
What got me on that rant though is when we were talking about the mass firings. Like how many developers you need, right?
Right.
Maybe when they, started, maybe that's what they felt they actually needed, but things have already progressed.
Well, I have a theory about that. Yes, especially in the high tech, and so much venture capital and money got dumped into those organizations, right? Tons of it. What do you do with it? Well, and the old profile used to be the more employees, the better the company, the better it's going to look, even if you go in public or after you go public. So they just hired. I mean, I'm sure you've read a couple of stories that have come out of Twitter where these guys were hired and they did nothing. They did nothing. They didn't even have to come to work. But the payroll, I mean, we're talking so much money that we got to spend it, quote unquote. We got to build these super duper ring headquarters. Yeah. We got to, but campuses, you got to have that because if we didn't spend it, we won't get any more kind of thing. It's a weird thing, but I think, so that's, the best way to fluctuate that is through hiring and firing. We'll just gear up. We've got a huge staff. We look big. We look great. And in the bad times, if we have to lay off 10,000 people, we can still survive. And that's exactly who lays off 15,000 people in business and doesn't go out of business?
That's crazy.
That's incredible. So that was always there, which is, maybe it's insensitive, but yeah. So I think Elon, that whole Twitter thing just displayed that perfectly. He had 20% of what he had left and the company's still around. Now, maybe, anyway, that to me, that's just illustrative of what all the, and it's not just them. They're laying off high tech all over the place. I think Google Facebook, I think is going to do another 4,000. I haven't been keeping track, but that might be up to 15,000 in that range. And this is all economically driven. AI hasn't hit that yet. Wait till AI hits that. It's like all you'll need is an Elon Musk.
That's it. Yeah, I was having some fun here. I created a little graphic of an image of a code developer running away from a robot.
Yeah, that's good.
Have you played around with this one yet? It's the new image creator powered by
Which
DALL-E.
one is? It's DALL-E?
Yeah, but it's embedded into Microsoft now. So when you're on their homepage,
really?
Yeah, go /images/create, and I'll actually put this in for everybody in the comment thing here. Just give me 1 second. There's
wow,
so cool. What I've done is I've run prompts through this version, the one that Microsoft is running, versus DALL-E 2.
Yeah, how's the difference?
I'll show you. So we got that one there. Let me copy the let's see, we'll copy the same prompt because we want to use the same prompt, right? And some of the other stuff I did, so we're just talking about Elon Musk. I don't know if you can see this image here. There are actually options for a person up to their neck in GPUs, graphic processing units. All right.
That's good.
So let's go to DALL-E 2. Try DALL-E. It's so funny how primitive the interfaces still are. Don't you find that?
Yeah, it is. I mean, even what was it mid? What's the mid one? Mid Journey?
Yeah.
You look at their very first is still binary graphic. I think that's the one. But I think they're trying to do that on purpose because I like it. I love it more text based than graphic based.
Yeah, I mean it's old school, right? I guess what I mean.
It is old school. That's probably why I like it.
So look at this. Look at these options, right? So these ones are all cartoony, and I find that's what it does is that the images.
Oh, yeah.
Get out of there and look over here. We'll go back to these ones. It gave me options, right? Like one's a cartoon, but then other ones are more realistic, right? Look at this one. He's a developer kicking ChatGPT to the curb. Yeah, isn't it crazy? Like it's different. So I was doing actually for images for, let's see if I can find it here. I started using it for other things in my blogs to get some options, right? So if you look at this one here, it's one that I actually used, a photo of an angry man in a suit being hauled away by police officers on a dimly lit street with a strong overhead light, right?
That's pretty good.
That's the version that came out of Bing. And then when I go back, let's see. These were actually the faces and stuff. These are different. These are ones that I was doing for a dimly lit office with an overhead light. And of course, the face
right.
Terrible. That's through just the regular DALL-E 2. But if I go back, I'll show you the one that I actually used in the blog, which is bonkers. How much better they are. So it was smart enough to hide the faces and stuff because it knows that it's not as good with faces, right?
Can't do it, yeah.
Isn't that clever?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not going away, Greg. We are hook, line, and sinker, into this, right?
Well, I'm penning a letter. I'm penning a letter. I'm putting together an article for Tricia. Real quick, we can write forever on AI, and I know you do the same thing. And to boil it down, I think our industry, because I just saw something online, it was in Andy's newsletter about how, was it CEO Juice is now, they've got AI for the dealership, right? Now, and I challenged them already, we're going to have a conversation. So, all right, was this the AI that you were working on before November, or is it AI that you're working on after November? And, the illusion there is, why are you calling your machine language AI now because it's the hottest term, or is it something that you're putting together that really is artificial intelligence, not machine language? And do you know the whole thing? Because our industry, I haven't heard anything except ConnectWise and CEO Juice. That in ConnectWise was a direct open AI. I mean, maybe even ChatGPT interface, right? So that's what they're developing that. I don't know what's going on with CEO Juice, but when I hear. That's what I was worried about. I'm going to hear all the established software packages trying to say that they have always done AI,
right?
When
so
that's not true.
No. So for a good example of that is if you're doing big data analytics, right? And people will say, "Oh yeah, we've been working with AI." And it's like, well, explain that to me. And then they talk about their analytics for big data. And it's like, okay, that's
right.
It's a stretch.
Right.
Big data analytics.
Right? I'm feeling deja vu from when when management services first came out, when it really did, like at 2009, in that range. And I think with Fotiso, we were at, maybe it was, I forget, it might have been an iTex, maybe, in Vegas. And management services was just starting to get known, right? No OEM had an MPS program, that's how early it was. And I walked up to one of the booths and it said, management services. Oh, wow. Come in. And I'm thinking, yeah, what's this management? Oh, well, we've been doing management services for 25 years. Oh, okay. Yeah. You were selling ribbons and re-inking ribbons and maximizing investment and reducing fleets back in 1999 or something like that. Well, it was a toner guy, right? So he was, okay, one component of MPS is toner refurb, but that. So anyway, I'm feeling that you start to see these because, oh yeah, we've been doing artificial
There is
intelligence.
a standard definition, like that's
right.
Right.
First off, there isn't, and to say that you have been doing it is almost disingenuous, but it's predictable. So that's what I'm looking for in our industry is where Tiger Paw might have something up its sleeve, right? Yeah, there we go.
Here, my friend.
Yeah,
we're at the bottom of the half hour, and I can't thank you enough for joining in.
Oh, okay.
Is make sure that people do discover some of the awesome work that you're doing. So if you haven't been to the Office Tech Tap, get over there now. There's some amazing reading for you here. I love this one. I actually did read through this one this morning. Remote work is here to stay. Business experiment with hybrid models. If you've got remote workers or you're thinking about bringing them back to the office, I think you definitely want to get in here and have a look around. And so, I really enjoy this one. You've got another one. It's actually a gaming one on tap, right? So I didn't realize that about you. You're a pretty enthusiastic gamer.
Well, I guess you could call me that. Yeah, I mean, I was back in the old days, and Doom was big, and then Quake. So yeah, I got in back then, and we had people watching
us
play. Yeah. I mean, and then it's funny. I mean, I just got back in a couple, 3-4 months ago. All right, this is an aside story. So I get back into this one game that we played, and the guys that I played with back in 2011 or 9 or 10 were still there. So it isn't, I'm not playing with a bunch of kids. It's a weird demographic, and more people coming back to it because they've, the guys had their kids, they're out of the house, they're almost retired. Let's go play computer games, and that thing is right there. The whole thing amazes me still. That because back when we were kids, you had your games, but when you went to high school or certainly went to college, you left all that stuff at home.
Yeah.
Well, for decades, the kids have been bringing their consoles up to school. When they get married, they bring in they're talking about their kids and their Nintendo games and their all that stuff. It still permeates.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
It is. It's like, and I do recall that when I went away to college and stuff, my gaming life was behind me because I don't know. It still wasn't that transportable for any of that stuff. I didn't have a TV in my dorm room, right? Like at all. Like you had to have I
forgot about that.
Right. So, but I will say that I'm becoming more of a gaming enthusiast again, thanks to Star Wars VR games.
Right.
Games, right? So, but that's very niche, right? Because that's another topic for another conversation for another day. Is this whole idea of the death of the metaverse and immersion in virtual worlds, right? So maybe
that's very interesting
call on that one because that's a whole show. Hey, listen, buddy, I cannot thank you enough for coming in. So make sure you do head over to Greg's pages. I'll just put them up here again so you can see them before we go.
Yeah, thanks, Les.
You can actually just head over. You can, if you want to go directly to thedeathofthecopier.com, then you can get access to both of those there. And Greg, I hope you have an awesome day. Is there anything big on tap today for you before we go?
No, I'm finishing a couple articles. I'll catch up with another group later today, I think. But other than that, no. Trying to digest and regurgitate and get some more content out there. Yeah, and then of course working on. I'm working real hard on the Office Tech Tap. Believe it, I'm digging into that pretty hard. So yeah, cool. Thanks, Wes. I appreciate the quick invite. That's cool.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining in, brother. And to everyone else out there that took the time to join us, sorry we didn't get a regular guest, but look what you did get today.
Lucky day. All right, Wes.
All right, brother. Cheers, everybody.
All right. Are we in the studio now still?